I want to show you how expectations create unhappiness. Expectations create frustration, irritation, anger. Let's call it unhappiness. So here you are living life, and you have an expectation for the way things should be, or you have an expectation of what should happen. See, that expectations are always about the future. Realize that. You don't have an expectation about the past. And your expectation for right now is not actually now. Because now is already happening. Now is already here. This moment is already happening. It already is what it is. This moment right here, right now, is inevitable. So you don't have an expectation about right now. You're always having an expectation about the future. How things should be at a later time. What should happen at a later time. So this expectation that you are creating, realize that. Number 2, realize that it is you that is creating the expectation. Life doesn't come with any expectations. Life doesn't come with any expectations. And I'm sense what you might be getting at here is, yeah, well, my partner has an expectation of me. My parents have an expectation of me. Society has an expectation of me. I get you. But see, that's their creation. That's their creation. That doesn't mean that you need to create an expectation. Let them have their expectations. That's their creation. That's their business. What's your business is what you are creating. And see that you are creating expectations. So you create these expectations. Now I want you to see clearly how expectations are limitations. The nature of an expectation is a limitation. That's what it is. Swap out the word expectation with limitation. You are creating limitations. I know what you're thinking. Well, how is it a limitation? Well, let me show you. Life is simply unfolding. Life has infinite possibilities. Now, the expectation that you are creating, you are saying, out of infinite possibilities, I want this one possibility to happen. Out of infinite possibilities, I believe that this one possibility should be. Do you see how it's a limitation? There's infinite possibilities in life. And you are saying, out of those infinite possibilities, this is how life should show up. This is how life should be. It's got to be this way. Otherwise, I will be unhappy. Your happiness becomes limited. You're limiting your happiness because of this expectation. If you weren't creating that expectation, you'd be happy. You would be experiencing happiness. But instead, you create this limitation for happiness. You're creating a condition. An expectation, another way to say it, is it's a condition. Infinite possibilities, but you're saying, in order for me, it's like read between the lines. This is really what's happening is, in order for me to be happy, life has to show up like my expectation. I have an expectation for life, meaning I have a condition for life. But see that life is unconditional. See that life is limitless. But it is you that's putting the limit. It is you that's putting the condition on life. And because you create the expectation, because you're creating the condition, because you're creating the limitation, you set up this game of holding happiness hostage. You give yourself, to make it a little bit more clear, you're giving yourself one out of infinite possibilities, one chance to be happy out of infinite possibilities. To make it a little bit more graspable, let's say instead of infinite possibilities, let's say 1 out of 1,000,000. Okay? Life can show up a million different ways, but your expectation is it's got to be this way. So your chances of being happy is 1 out of 1,000,000. And obviously, you know what happens when life doesn't show up the way you want it to show up, the way you expected it to show up. You get frustrated, you get irritated, you get angry, you are unhappy. So, what to do? Well, see that expectations are something that you are doing. Expectations is something that you are creating. So what to do? Well, it's actually not about doing. See, it's the doing, it's the creating of the expectations that's actually causing more and more unhappiness in your life. Instead of just being open to a million ways that life can show up and just being open, you're being closed to the million ways and you're saying it's got to be that one way. So you close yourself off to life because of that one expectation that you've created. You're limiting life. You want life to show up like this very narrow path. You've put all these conditions, these conditions, in this way I'm using it, you could say it's like preferences. If you have all these preferences of how things should be, and you're saying, well, I'm not flexible. See, my conditions are so rigid. Because I'm so closed, I'm closing off to life. It's like I'm trying to narrow life. You're trying to bend life according to your expectation. You're trying to limit life to how you want it. But that's not how it works. Because life is unconditional. Life is limitless. Life is wide open. So when you are creating these expectations, you're living a very narrow life. When you're not creating those expectations, life is broad. And it's experienced deeply. You get both. You're experiencing a broad life, or the width of life and the depth of life. You're getting both, quantity and quality. Whereas the other way is you're not experiencing the quantity of life, and you're definitely not experiencing the quality of life. Quality is about value. Something that's high quality is something that you value. When it's not showing up how you want it, it's very easy to dismiss. There's no quality in this. So it's never valued. There's no appreciation for it. Why? Because it's not what you wanted. You can't appreciate what you do not accept. As long as you're rejecting it, no, it's not what I wanted. This is not what I ordered. This is not according to my expectation, so I don't want it. So I'm rejecting it. As long as you're rejecting it, it's impossible to value it. You can only value that which you accept. And by valuing it, you're experiencing the quality. So you're experiencing the quantity and the quality. As soon as the expectations are dropped. And like I said, the expectations are something that you are creating. Something that you're doing. So there's nothing to do. It's actually seizing what you already are doing. So it's about just bringing awareness to what you are doing, that you are creating unhappiness. And with that awareness, oh, well, how am I creating that unhappiness? And I'm pointing out, well, with this expectation. With your limitations that you're placing on life. With your conditions that you're trying to condition life. When you stop trying to condition life, when you stop trying to limit life, then you're experiencing an unconditional life that is limitless. So it's simply just bringing awareness to this activity of expectations that you are creating. And then you notice when they pop up, which is very often. Very often. And the switch looks like this. You have these preferences, these expectations about what's going to happen next. And then you see them arise. And then don't do anything about them. They just fall. Don't give them any attention. Don't pay them any interest. Don't value those expectations. And they'll just simply arise and they'll just fall. And what you'll feel is you don't go into this closure. You don't feel like tight. You stay open. This openness starts off with this feeling of, well, let's just see what happens. It's more of a curiosity. It's curiosity that opens you. Right? I want to know. Out of wanting to know, that's when you open. It's only when you think you know that you're staying closed. One who thinks that they know everything is closed. One who wants to know, let me find out. Let me see how this plays out. Let me see what this is like. It's this curiosity. This curiosity is what opens. So you start becoming more curious. Let me just see how this unfolds without me trying to squeeze it. So you're not trying to squeeze life anymore into how you want it to be. Instead, there's this openness. And it's only through this openness that you actually embrace life. You can't embrace when you're not open. If you want to embrace someone, right? It's like a hug. You want to embrace someone, you have to be open. As long as you're closed, you can't embrace life. So this curiosity opens you up. It's with this openness that then you start embracing life. If you want to give me something, well, I have to open my hands to receive. I have to open my hands to receive. In order to receive, I have to accept. You want to give me something? In order for me to receive it, I have to accept it. So in the same way, you become more curious. Let's just see how this unfolds. Let's just see what this happens. See what happens without me trying to intervene, without me trying to mold it, condition it, limit it, direct it. Let's just see. Another way to see it is you're a little bit more hands-off. You're not trying to control it. You're not trying to micromanage life. Let's just see how things play out without my directing, intervening, controlling. Let me just be open to it. Let me just open up to the infinite possibilities. And because I haven't already said it's got to be this way, I'm not limiting the million ways that life could show up to just one way. Therefore, whatever way life shows up, you're already open to it and you're embracing that. And as long as you're open, there's no resistance. Resistance is experienced when you're closed. When you're open, there's no resistance. There's nothing in the way because you're wide open. But when you're closed, there's something in the way. And as long as there's something in the way, then you're going to meet resistance. You're going to experience resistance. But remaining wide open, living life wide open, there's nothing but embracing life. So whatever way life shows up, you're open to it. You're embracing that. You're accepting that. And without any resistance, then you're no longer suffering life. You're no longer suffering the experiences of life. You're no longer suffering the circumstances of life. The circumstances of life are no longer making you unhappy because you realize that it was actually you that was creating that unhappiness, because it was you that was putting these imaginary limitations and conditions on life. So then you're no longer holding your happiness hostage. I'll be happy when. I'll be happy if. When. If. These are words that set you up for a condition or a limitation. It places your happiness in the future. But happiness is here now. But as long as you're creating a condition, that happiness will be experienced when I arrive, when this happens, if this happens. Then that's what I mean by holding happiness hostage. So simply be aware of the expectations that you're already creating. Be aware of it. And when you're aware of the expectation that you're creating, at first you'll start catching it almost in hindsight. After the expectation is created, you'll kind of go, and then you'll kind of catch it. You'll be more aware and go, oh, wait, this is that expectation. And then it will just be dropped. It'll be dropped. There's just going to be this openness. It will feel a lot like you're warming up to life. When you're closed, you're cold. When you're open, you're warm. So you're starting to open up. You're starting to warm up to life. And when this continues, warming up, let me warm up, warming up, you find that this warming up continues, and it's as if your heart is on fire. You're just loving life. It's this full openness, this full embrace, that there's a love for life itself. So hopefully this helps. I'll see you in the next one.